I cue you. The microphone is on.
Hi everybody, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you also for stepping up to coach or for still considering to coach in what's going to be a really interesting season for all of us. I'm just going to share with you a little bit about what we know for the Ohio tournament system right now and let you know when you can expect to know more. We do know right now that the qualifying tournaments will be remote. We will not have an opportunity to do in-person qualifiers, so we're working on a structure for those that we're really excited about. We think we're onto something great. Those will take place in December, so for those of you getting a late start, we're not going to have any events in November, and I'll get more information out to you about that soon. We also know that the state championship will probably also be remote. That decision has not been made firmly yet, but we know that it's likely. I have meetings coming up in August with both Wright-Patterson Air Force Base leadership and with FIRST that will help us solidify the decisions, and I'm hoping to make a full announcement to all teams on or before September 1st that will lay out for you the tournament structure and the dates and how to sign up and all of those things. So look for that information by September 1st. I also want to let you know that we're not really going to talk, or at all going to talk about the project during this call, but I am going to go live again this coming Wednesday, August 12th at 5 p.m. with Lego Legion to talk about the project. We will talk a bit about the current season's project, but the majority of this will be aimed at teams who need some help getting started. And it would be information that would help you do your project in any season. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll have more live opportunities for you to interact with us and get information through September and October. We'll be advertising those soon. And I do want to introduce you really quickly to the newest member of our team, Candy Heiser, who's joining us as the first LEGO League Explore Program Delivery Partner.
Hi everyone, I'm really looking forward to getting to know you over the next season. I will also be announcing very soon what our festivals are going to look like. We will be doing them in conjunction with the challenge programs. So expect that announcement when Brenda's able to do her announcement. We will be doing remote along with her, and we will tell you what that structure is going to be and everything you need to do to make that happen for your teams. So I'm not going to talk very long because I know why everyone's actually watching us. So I'm going to have our wonderful head ref, Richard Storrick, come on and explain to you what's in front of me.
All right, so thank you for joining us. Apparently I am the wonderful head ref this year, not just the head ref. For those of you that know, I am Richard Storrick, the head referee for the state of Ohio. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the entire field for you today. I'm going to run through the field. I'm going to run through some changes that exist in the rules. There are some significant changes that you might want to pay attention to. But first, let's take a look at the field setup, and what you actually have to build. So what you see here is the entire field that comes out of the box as assembled. Now, not everything here is needed for the competition, because coming out of the build instructions, you get a whole lot of these little things. And Sarah, can you give me a 3, please? Or sorry, Candy. So Candy's our camera operator. When I tell her 3, that's like the mission numbers. So here you see this little heart thing. They come in cyan. They come in purple. You get some red ones, you get some yellow ones, you get some dark blue ones. There's a whole bunch of these things. They are in the build instructions, which is why I have them out, but none of these things are needed for a competition. So I'm just going to take all these things and put them away because we don't need them. The next thing that you have in all your build instructions is you have all these little tiles that say replay on them. You have a whole bunch of them. Once again, you don't need any of these things for a competition. So feel free to take this stuff Give it to your coaches, give it to your mentors, give it to whoever it is that you want to thank, or just turn it into a happy little replay joke. So if you didn't hear someone say something, you can give them one of these little replay charms so they have to go back and repeat exactly what they just said. I love that idea. Next thing that you have is in your build instructions, you have the happy little coaches tokens. So you have those just like in previous years. And so you have 4 of those. Once again, these are great. Give them to your coaches, give them to your camera operator, whoever. You don't need those for the competition. All right, Candy, can I get a 0 again? All right, so now that we got rid of all the stuff that you don't actually need for a competition, let's start off with the missions. So let's try 1, Candy. All right, so just like previous years, here is our launch area. Now there is a change from last year to this year. The black off-mat area is home, but also this quarter circle is part of home this year. So you have home and you have home, and it's all one big area. So where last year you had to do some weird thing, if your robot returns to this quarter circle, your robot is in home. If your robot drives off the mat and is over here, your robot is also in home. So the off the mat and the quarter circle is all home. Now, like last year, you have the Innovative Project mission. This is where you have to build a model that's at least 4 Lego nubs in any one direction. And if you want to get specific, here's one 4x4 Lego plate with 1 block on it. So it needs to be at least two connected things. Here is my Innovative Project model. Don't ask me what this is. I don't know. Maybe it's a Fitbit that stopped working. It works for me. And so, Candy, can I get a 3, please? Now, you have to deliver this to one of 2 areas. The first area is, you see over here, we have the replay logo. So if I deliver my Innovative Project model to anywhere so it is on the replay logo, that is worth 20 points. Now, so anywhere on the replay logo, 20 points. Or if I can get the other number that I need is 4. So over here near mission number 4, you see this gray area that's around mission 4. If you deliver your Innovative Project model to the gray area, you can also get 20 points. Now, it's not 20 points for one, then you deliver a second one, you get another 20 points, deliver a third one, get another 20 points. It's just 20 points, and that's it. So don't think you can build 4 Innovative Project models and deliver 4 of them and get 80 points. Sorry, we're not working like that. So just deliver 1 Innovative Project model, you can get your 20 points and be happy. Now, if you're one of those teams that always wants redundancy, you can bring more than 1 Innovative Project model to the field. So if you want to bring 2 or 5 or 10, you're free to do so, but only 1 counts for scoring. So please only use 1. All right, now let's go through the missions. And I'm going through the missions in order, and you'll hear me call out the camera numbers. So when I call out the camera numbers, the camera will change to the mission we're talking about. Right now we're going to mission number 2, the step counter. The step counter is right here by where the team stands. And it's this object back here. This part here that you kind of see blocking it just a little bit, that's a different model, so ignore that part. It's way back here in the back. Now I'm going to take this off the field ever so gently so you can see. And I'm going to remodel the field, and Brenda loves when I do this. There we go. So you can see right here, this is where the step counter goes. You see we have a red, a yellow, and a blue section. And the step counter fits right in here. And it's very simple. Your robot comes and is going to push the step counter, and depending on how it pushes it, magenta, yellow, or blue. And if it's in the magenta region, that's worth 10 points, yellow for 15, and blue for 20. Now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to rotate this around, and I want you to take a very good look at this mechanism. This mechanism is going to be a fun mechanism this year, because if you push it gently and slowly, you can see it's oscillating, it's rotating back and forth, it is moving, and I'm able to push it just fine. Nice and slow, nice and steady, nice and easy. But if I do it too quick, it's going to jam up on you. So you have to be careful on how quickly you actually push this mission model. And yes, if you push my model and break the dual lock, that's problems, and I don't like having problems, so please don't break my dual lock. And as always, as we go through this, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them into the chat window, and I will pause periodically and answer the questions. So I know I've only gone through 2 missions right now, but if you have questions, please throw them up there. I will go through the changes in the rules when I'm done with the mission models, so that way we answer all those questions as well. All right, so let's go to mission number 3, the slide. All right, the mission number 3. This looks like a nice slide, but the Lego minifigs on here look like they're grayed out Terminator Lego minifigs to me, because there's no face and it looks like they're all metal. So to start off with the slide, if you get one figure off the slide, that is worth 5 points. Now, the first thing you should note is that my table is tilted at about a 15-degree angle. Terminator, yes. This table's at about a 15-degree angle, so things won't operate exactly how they might operate on your table at home, but we put it at an angle so we get better camera angles of this. Because if not, you wouldn't be able to see certain parts of the field. But you have this minifig that sits on top of the slide. If your robot just smacks the back of that Terminator minifig, it will fall down off the slide, and there's your 5 points. That's nice and easy. Now, over here, you see on the bottom, you see another Lego minifig, another Terminator minifig. This one has to be slid up the slide, because obviously you got to climb the ladder first, and then you just smack him off down the slide, and he's good. If you've ever pushed your brother or sister a little too hard down the slide, you know exactly what to do in this mission. So literally just push them off the edge of the slide, and they'll do what they've got. They'll do what they do. Now, just because you get the minifigs off the slide doesn't mean you're done. Because this is one of those missions where if you take the minifig, take one of these minifigs, and if you take this completely in home, this is worth 10 points. So this minifig is going to go home worth 10 points. Because, you know, when you push your sister off the slide, she's going to go home and tell on you anyway. So take that minifig home and get the additional 10 points. Now, there's another minifig here, so you can do it something else if you want to. If the slide figure is held off the mat by a heavy tire and it is touching nothing else, that is worth 20 points. So if I can get a 9 candy. So mission number 9 is the tire mission. So if your Terminator minifig is on the tire, and you notice it's not held by anything else, so your robot can't be holding the tire, robot can't be holding the minifig on the tire. Just dump the Terminator minifig on the big tire and leave it there. All right, we will take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of EV3 first Spike Prime kind of when we're done, because that could be anywhere from a 5-minute discussion to a hour-long discussion depending on teams' needs. And really it comes down to what is your preference? What does your budget allow? What do you already have? And certain strategies. All right, so there's our slide. And please don't ask me why Terminator minifigs are playing on the slides. They just are. All right. The first minifig should go wee all the way home. Yes. If someone wants to put then sound effects into their Spike Prime or their EV3, please do so. That would be amazing. I kind of want to hear that through the remote events. All right, next we're going to is mission number 4. Mission 4, the bench mission. All right, so this is the bench mission. Now, the bench mission has several different components to this, but we need to make sure we pay attention. And once again, this thing right here is not part of the mission. It's just something else that's stuck in the way. So the bench mission. The first thing you got to do with the bench mission, if the bench is down flat, 10 points. So you see how the bench mission rotates ever so gently? If your robot comes over and smacks this side of the bench, it'll fall down flat. That's 10 points. The second scoring condition. If the bench is down flat and there are cubes touching the hopscotch squares, 10 points each space. Starting off in the home area is a bunch of these colored cubes. So I'm just going to pick green cubes because I kind of know what's coming later and those other colored cubes will come in handy. Hint, hint. So I'm going to take some green cubes and I'm going to put a green cube in this first spot, green cube in the second spot, green cube in the third spot, and green cube in the fourth spot. So we got green cubes in all 4 spots. That will give me 10 points for each green cube in a space. So that's 40 points. Now if you note there, it says, and there are cubes touching the mat in hopscotch spaces, 10 points each space. It's not 10 points per cube, it's 10 points per space. So if I put this cube right here, I still have 4 cubes, but I only have 3 spaces. With only 3 spaces, that is worth 30 points for the hopscotch and 10 points because I knocked the bench down. But because I want maximum points, I'm going to move that back there. And then lastly, if the backrest is completely out of both of its holes for 15 points. Now this is just gently resting in there, and you see it's held on with just 2 of those little red things. It's just resting right there, so any robot can just flip that thing out, just completely out of both holes. It doesn't have to come home, it doesn't have to be in any place specific. I'll put it right there so you see it's clearly out. That's worth another 15 points. So you can have 10 plus 40 plus 15 points for this particular mission. And you can see how close this mission is to the launch area where you have to start your robot. Your robot has to start in the launch area. And you see how far away this is. This is about 2 cell phones away from the edge of the launch area. 1 cell phone, 2 cell phones away. So it's a very close mission worth a whole bunch of points. So if you're a rookie team and you're like, hey, what mission should I start first? Well, that's a really close mission worth a decent amount of points. Maybe start there. So, next up, we're going to do mission number 5, the basketball mission. Now, this is one I kind of have to rip off the field a little bit. Because you can see right here, we have our basketball mission. Now, there is a hoop, and I will pull this off and I'll rotate it to show the camera. And the basketball hoop can be locked into the middle position and can be locked into the high position. And under normal circumstances, you see, there's nothing in there, there's just some chains. And if it's locked into one of the positions, if it's locked into the middle position, that is worth 15 points. If it's in the high position, that's 25 points. And again, if there is a cube in the crate, that is worth an additional 15 points. So this is where I rip this off the field. And if you that know me know, I love ripping things off the field. So here's our mission model. I'll put that right about there. And you can see the little stopper there. And there's another little stopper there near the top. See, there's the little stopper mechanism right there. So you just have to lift it up enough so that the stopper engages. Now, if you're one of those teams that likes to get creative, nowhere in the rules does it say you have to do this mission in any particular way. So you could lift the basketball hoop all the way off, bring that back to home, put your green cube in the basketball hoop, then drive the basketball hoop back out and put it in place. If you want to do that, you are more than welcome to. It may be the long way of doing it. It may be the more difficult way of doing it. But hey, if you want to do it that way, you're more than welcome to do so. All right, so next up is mission number 6. Now, there are 2 missions this year that where your robot can end the match, end the 2.5 minutes, and get points. This is one of them. So mission number 6 is the pull-up bar. There are 2 scoring conditions here. If your robot passes completely under the pull-up bar at any time during the match, that is worth 15 points. So if 5 seconds into the match, your robot just cruises under there, that's 15 points. Doesn't matter where your robot ends up. If your robot cruises under the bar for 15 points, and then is found hanging off of this bar at the end of the 2 minutes and 30 seconds, that is worth an additional 30 points. And yes, this is fairly robust. It can hold some decent weight, so it can easily hold a fairly large EV3 robot. But as I'm sure all the engineers out there know, the motors for EV3 and Spike Prime, you'll have to be very particular about how you create that gear train to make sure your robot can hang, because the more weight you have, the more weight you have to lift, and the more difficult that becomes. All right, the other way that your robot can end the match and get points is for mission number 7. All right, mission number 7 is kind of cut off a little bit because of where it is near the front edge, but we have a 3x3 grid up here that's like Dance Dance Revolution. Trademark and patent and all rights reserved for that company. So here's a 3x3 grid. If your robot controller is on top of that 3x3 grid, and your robot is doing a motion at the end of the match, you get the 20 points. Now, a motion is, you could be rotating a motor, spinning a flag. Your robot could be dancing in circles. Please don't make me dance in circles. I mean, there's a very narrow area back here, and Brenda might get upset if I start doing that. So I could dance in circles. Your robot can be sitting here doing one of these things. If your robot wants to do the funky chicken, the hamster dance, all of that works for your robot actually dancing on the dance floor. It doesn't have to be anything cool. It doesn't have to be coordinated to any music. Although, personally, I think it would be cool if that was coordinated with music and just your robot was laying down a really nice 8-beat rhythm and dance number and dance line and everything. That would be awesome. So please send me videos on that if you got them, because I really kind of want to see that. Some years I like seeing things thrown across the field, but this year I want to see a robot just get down and get jiggy with it and all that other happy fun stuff. And if you're too young to understand what that means, ask your parents. You'll realize that Will Smith wasn't always a movie star. All right. So next up is the game of Bocce. This is the shared mission this year. Now, I will be upfront with you, and that since Brenda has already said that the regional tournaments will be remote, a shared mission when you're remote raises interesting questions. Like, how are we going to score that? Now, First has already put out an update, and they're if from shared model and you are the only team in the match, you will automatically get the 25 related points. For regional tournaments and probably state, but Brenda's still, identifying that. Obviously, when you do this, you're going to be doing this in your basement. You're going to be doing this in your garage or in your house, wherever. You will be doing this by yourself with no one on the other side. So in my mind, that rule still holds true. And can I get an 8, please? Mission 8. So here's the Bocce mission. When this is set up, you have your red cube for Bocce there, blue cube for Bocce right there, and then over here on the other side of the table, you have little yellow cube way over here. Now, very simply, for this side over here, the robot can easily, and I'm going to remove these so I'm not dumping those on the floor, the robot can lift the red one, dumping the red cube over. The robot can lift the blue one, dumping the blue cube over. And now this should dump these cubes into your partner's Bocce target. Now, it's a little hard to see, so I'm going to rip this off the table. Here is your Bocce target, right there, Bocce target, which is laying on the field. And you have this little machine here that if you just activate this, the yellow cube will not go into the target. But if you rotate it, you can then dump the yellow cube pretty close to where the target is or into the target depending on your skill level. Because Bocce does require a bit of skill to do that. And then if there are cubes completely in your frame, 5 points for each cube. And then if there's at least one yellow cube completely in your target, 10 additional points. Now, if you remember, I said, hey, I'm not going to use all these things here at home for the hopscotch mission because here, starting at home, here is one yellow cube. And it's a little hard to see because it's tiny and my hands are like massive compared to it. But you can take this one yellow cube and your robot can deliver that yellow cube and hopefully get it in the target or deliver a whole bunch of extra cubes and delivering the cubes over there. So if your robot is good, you can end up with, what was it, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Your robot can easily end up with 8 plus cubes in the Bocce area. So that could easily be 8 cubes, 40 points. Yellow cube in the target, if you're lucky enough, that's another 10. And since we're probably doing this remote, I'm thinking update number 1 applies to all that, which gives you an additional 25 points. So that could be 40 plus 10 plus 25 for those of you doing the math at home on the points for that particular mission. All right, next up, tire flipping. If you've ever been to a CrossFit class, you realize that they love flipping tires. It's something that happens there, something that they do. And over here, we have a couple of tires. We have a Spike Prime tires, and if we can get a Mission 9 here, Candy. All right, so here's Terminator Lego minifig still hanging out there on the big tire. So I've got these little Spike Prime tires, green on one side, white on the other side, right there. And on the big tire, I've got this big, massive honking off-road tire. Green on one side, white on the other side, hanging out right there. Now this one's very simple. If the light blue tread tire is white center up for 10 points. So take the blue tire. I'm going to say all you have to do is flip it over. I mean, human hands are great because we're dexterous and we can do that, but it's harder for a robot to do it. Some things you might want to consider is that there are lots of things you can jab, lots of holes in there. See all those holes in there? You might be able to jab something in there to flip it over, or maybe you can just take something there, flip it over, use your imagination. So that's worth 10 points. The heavy black tread tire, white center up for 15 points. So here's the white center. So here's my big tread tire. And again, it's got some holes in it, not nearly as many, and this is just a big, massive tire. You flip that over, there's 15 points. All right, for an additional 5 points, if the white center up tires are in the large target circle for 5 points each. So, if you flip the blue tire over, clearly that is in the circle, so 5 points. If you just flip the big tire over, you see how this tire is currently out of the circle, so, sorry, can't give you those additional 5 points. You will get the 15 points for flipping it white side up, but you will not get the additional points because it's in. But if you simply push that, you can very easily keep both tires in the circle because you can see the diameter of the circle, the diameter of these two tires added together. There's still plenty of room to play with. So if you can flip the tire, pull it there, life is good. Now, the one thing I will tell you is if you're looking to pull this tire or push this tire, there is a bunch of friction because this is soft rubber. So if you're looking to push it, please don't rip up your mat. Don't do anything like that. But you can push the tire, but it will be a little difficult. And we will see that theme come back to us again on a later mission. All right, next up is mission 10, the cell phone. So way up here in the front, which you can barely see right here, is our cell phone. So not sure what kind of cell phone this is. I think that's right side up for the cell phone. I mean, this is like a 1980s cell phone. I'm looking for the flip-out keyboard. So there's our cell phone. It's laying down right there. So you just have to flip it so it is white side up. Because we all know that's a good thing to put your cell phone down on occasion. Yes, kids, I said it. Put your cell phone down on occasion and get out and explore the wonderful world of reality. I hear it's now in high def. All right, so that's worth 15 points for flipping over a cell phone. All right, next up is the treadmill, mission 11. Mission 11 for the treadmill. All right, so way back here in the corner, and you see we got the precision token tied down here in the corner. Here's your treadmill. Now, the way this works is that the robot has to use these rollers. To activate the counter here on the back side. And once again, I'll rip this off and show this to you in like 30 seconds. So if the robot comes and spends time on the treadmill, and here I told you I was going to rip it off and show it to you. So if the robot spins the rollers, you can see the little counter right here, light green, coming up to dark green, and there we go. We're now past dark green and onto white. All right, you cannot roll this thing backwards. So if we're resetting it, you perhaps can either like pick up the little latch and move it, or simply do what I do and move that. But you have to use the rollers because the missions say if the robot spins the roller so they're pointing in to those spots, you hit the points. And if the robot moves the pointer by touching the pointer, mission 11 scores 0. So this is where please pay attention to the blue text, and that will help give you specific information to making it legitimate. All right, I told you friction is going to come into play, so we're looking at, yes, Brenda?
Do you want to stop and answer questions?
All right, Techno Coach, I love that question. Can the tires be picked up and brought home, flipped, and then delivered to the circle? So for this, I'm going to go to the rules. All right. So in the blue text, it says, if the heavy tire crosses the red line at any time, even partially, it scores 0. The flip line runs. All right. So Candy, can I get back to mission 9, please? All right, so we're zooming back to mission 9. Here we have our big tire, the heavy tire as it's called, and the blue tire. The blue tire, yes, there's nothing in the rules that says the blue tire can't be brought back to base, or brought back to home, sorry. Base doesn't exist. Flip and brought back out. Now the heavy tire, right here, you see our flip line. This is a red flip line. This black tire, heavy tire, cannot be brought across the flip line. So the moment the black tire barely crosses the flip line, you aren't going to get points for that mission. So that's one of those. Can the tires be picked up and brought home, flipped, and then delivered to the circle? Yes for blue, no for the big black heavy tire. So that's one of those yes-no questions. All right, and please feel free to ask more questions. I love questions. The more detailed the questions, the better, because all of you know that's what I love doing. I love discussing with kids and going, okay, so Why do you think that's allowed? And a kid goes, well, according to page 19, section 4, bullet point 2, it states. I love it when a kid does that because that tells me they've paid attention, they've read the rules, and they're extremely invested. So I encourage that at all levels. Next up is the rowing machine. The rowing machine is a great little device. So here's our rowing machine, which is mission 12. Mission 12. There we go. So here's our rowing machine. Now the setup of the rowing machine is the wheels are down, and you see there's a little circle right there where that's just stationary. Life is good. Now what you have to do, completely outside the large circle for 15 points. Now the wheel it's talking about is this one right here in my fingers. If you pull that wheel outside the large circle, that is 15 points right there. Whether it be here, or over here, or back there, it doesn't matter as long as it's outside the large circle, that is 15 points. But if this tire is inside the small circle, that is worth an additional 15 points. So you get 15 points for being outside the large circle and 15 points for being inside the small circle. All right? If the big tire is brought back and a Terminator fig is placed on it and brought back to the field, does the minifig score? I like that. I love that thinking. There are no rules preventing that. So if your team is like, we don't care if we get the points for flipping the big tire. So you bring the Terminator minifig, and this is how they're going to be referred to in Ohio now, Terminator minifigs. You bring the Terminator minifig and you bring the black tire back to home. You're not getting points for this, but you could flip it over, put a Terminator minifig on top of there. You don't get points for flipping it over, but you do get points for the Terminator minifig being off the mat and supported by the big tire. All right, way to combine missions. All right, so next up we have a weight machine. Now, when we talk about starting a match, and this one is mission 13. When we talk about starting a match, all right, there's simply some things you have to do. This year, you got to bring your robot and everything with it to the field. You have to show the referee that your robot and all its equipment fits in either the small inspection area or the large inspection area. Now remember, the inspection areas have a 12-inch height limit, and once the referee sees that all of your equipment, all of your robot and stuff fits inside the large or small inspection area, you can get that bonus. Then you can set up in the launch area getting ready to start. But this year there's one additional thing that you have to do. Now here is our weight machine. Now, if you've ever been to a gym, the weight machine has like low, medium, and high settings. So here, yellow, magenta, and cyan. Cyan is the lightest setting. So I'm going to put up the lightest setting for right now. And then you see the little yellow thing here that's on top. This little thing right here. This little thing right there. See it? So if your robot pushes down and that little latch falls in place, boom. There you go. That's worth 10 points. Now let's say you don't quite like that and you want more of a challenge. That's okay. When we are setting up the field, you get to choose the setting on this weight machine. So if you choose magenta, your weight machine can be there. You choose the setting for your weight machine before your match begins. So if you want magenta, you're here. All right? If you're like, nah, that's still too easy. That is too easy. I want yellow. I want the hardest thing. You can set it on yellow and do it there and be good. And the scoring condition for this is that the stopper is under the lever and the lever is, and depending where the lever is, depends on the points you get. Before the match starts, you slide the lever where you want with the stopper on top. And it tells you this is the exception to not touching the field. The lever setting is the color, tells you where it is. So, there are two ways to solve this mission at least. let's say we want to do yellow. We want to do the most difficult one, get the maximum points. I want these 20 points. Method 1 is you could have your robot drive up to this side, push down on this little pad, have it lock into place. That's worth 20 points. Nice, easy, fancy, great. All right. Now, the other side. Now, the other way of doing this is that, let's say you want to be a little unconventional. If you don't want to push down on this side, you can lift up on this side. And then you still get the points. Nothing in the rules say you have to push down on the lime green lever. Nothing says you have to push down on that side. It just says that this little latch has to be under the bar. This little thing right here has to be under. And then whatever color it's on, whether it be magenta, blue, or yellow, that determines your points. So I don't know about you, but I like lifting things as opposed to pushing down on stuff. So I'd probably go to the blue tire side, lift it up, and be good. All right, now, if you've been paying attention, there is a sneaky part of the field that we haven't talked about yet. 3 of them are right here. And Candy, can I get a 0, please? Or 1. There we go. So starting off in home are these little green hearts. Now, at the start of this video, I told you that, oh, look, here's a purple one, or cyan, or red, or dark blue. You don't need any of those. That is correct. You don't need any of those. But you do need these lime green ones. So these lime green ones are actually health units. And if it feels like you're playing a video game, you kind of are. And I encourage you to, look up how a human's life cycle is like a video game. That will make you either really happy or really sad, one of the two. So these are health units. We have 3 health units starting in home. 1 health unit by the basketball hoop, and I'm not going to ask Candy to push all the buttons for these because we'll just bounce around the field. We have a health unit in the square in the dance floor. We have a health unit, over here by our pull-up bar. We have a health unit way over here by our rowing machine. They're just scattered all about. Now, these health units. If a health unit is touching the replay logo or the gray area, 5 points each. So if your robot picks these up and drops these onto the replay logo, 5 points. Or if you drop it to 10 points. 5 points each, my bad. Drops it onto the gray area, 5 points. Now let's say you really want some good points. Now, you could take these, and if you see right here on top of this mission, there's little balls. You can just hang these and put those up there. And if they are looped over the pull-up bar post as shown, 10 points each. So putting these 4 up here are worth 40 points. And then one of the last things is just like last year, you start off with a bunch of precision tokens. If all of these are in here at the end of the match, you get 60 points. But every time you touch your robot when it is not completely in home, unfortunately you have to lose a precision token. And that should tell you how much of a slant this table's at right now. So, those are all the missions. Homework from Richard Storrick. Look up how a human's life cycle is like a video game. I will give you the hint. Most video games have a 10-minute tutorial. Human life, you have like an 18-year tutorial on how to be a human. And even after you finish the tutorial, there's a lot of downtime in this video game. I haven't seen one alien invasion yet in my life. That would really liven things up. Yeah, we're not going to bring that, I'm not going to say that too much in 2020. All right, so now, what can you use? we are on to the rules for this year's missions. We talked about the missions. Now the rules. You can use either Spike Prime or EV3s. That is simply your choice. You can use either field set, either one. Now, depending on if you have an EV3 or Spike Prime at home, you could use either one. The Spike Primes are a little smaller than the EV3s. Now, there are some drawbacks to the EV3 to the Spike Prime in my mind. The Spike Prime has no LCD screen. So on the EV3, you can easily say, hey, mission 1, mission 2, and label your programs very easily. On the Spike Prime, you can't label your missions like that. So you have to use icons and emoticons and have those be displayed on the Spike Prime screen to select your missions. So instead of running mission 1, mission 2, mission 3, mission 4, you're running smiley face, frowny face, you're running line, you're running diagonal line, you're doing that stuff. Now, because you are allowed to use any software this year, there really is no benefit to one or the other. So if you want to run Python on an EV3, you're welcome to. I hear that MicroPython is coming to Spike Prime, if it's not already there. So that's more of a native kind of program. So if you want to use Python in programming all this, without having to jump through all the extra hoops of getting Python to run on the EV3, choose Spike Prime for that one. All the pieces, all of the non-electrical pieces are interchangeable. So if you want to use any of the pieces from a Spike Prime set, you got some fancy wheels here. Maybe you want narrower wheels. You can easily use the Spike Prime stuff on an EV3 brick. Now, the electronics are not interchangeable, so a Spike Prime motor will not work on an EV3 brick, and vice versa. So you can't really do that much. I do kind of like the Spike Prime motors better than the EV3 motors because they're a little more compact. So I like that one because it's a little bit smaller. But I have heard of some weird glitches in the programming of the Spike Prime. Now, specifics on those, I'll reserve those for people who are delving into all that because it requires a specific set of conditions for those glitches to start showing up. And depending on your team, that may or may not ever exist or even happen. All right, so some of the changes in rules. All right, software, yes, you can have any software you want. The robot, we kind of know what that is. Precision tokens, matches, we've kind of talked about that. All right, inspection area. We talked about the inspection area. Your robot has to fit in the small inspection area, which is here to here, 12-inch height limit, or be from here to here, the large inspection area, to get the points. And again, 12-inch height limit. Now, in the launch area, which is this quarter circle, there is no height limit. There is no height limit. So if you want your robot to be 5 feet tall, your robot, when it is set up in this launch area, can be 5 feet tall if you want it to be. But it has to stay completely in the launch area. All right. All right, home. Home, like I said, is both this area, the off-mat area, and the quarter circle. So your robot can return to either one without a problem. Launch area we've talked about. Interruption, same as previous years. You touch your robot when it is partially outside of launch, out of home. We got to take a precision token away from you. Sorry about that, but we got to do it. Now with launching, just like other years, it has to fit completely in. But there is a little bit of a change in here. In that nothing in here requires your robot and jigs to be 100% in. Your robot and anything it's about to move has to be 100% in. But I know jigs are always a hot button question, hot button topic for teams. If you have a massive jig, your jig can be set up here and extend all the way back to this corner. And as long as your robot is not moving that jig, and assuming your robot's built properly, it won't, that is perfectly allowed. So the jig can extend all the way back to the corner and come all the way out. The jig does not have to fit in the launch area. The jig doesn't have to fit in the launch area. Your robot, anything it's about to move, has to fit in the launch area. All right. Interruption Cargo, same basic stuff as happened last year with Cargo, so nothing much has happened there. Stranding of Cargo, same basic stuff. One thing I will bring up is that let's say you are doing the mission where you are bringing these back and put the Lego Terminator on top of the big black tire, and your robot gets stranded, and that stuff is sitting half in, half out of of the launch area. Unfortunately, if this is stranded half in, half out, the referee will take this, and you will be charged 1 precision token. So that is a slight change of previous years. That should cover the vast majority of new things. So, with that stuff,
Rookie team, can you explain what a jig is?
all right, for rookie teams. If you don't know what a jig is pretty simple. You see here in the launch area, we have this grid. When a lot of teams start off practicing, they try to align their robot to this grid. That works, but you're not going to get the exact same placement every time. Your robot's going to be a little off here, a little off there. So what some teams will do is they will build a placement device out of Legos. So that way I know that I'm using my surface here as a placement device. There you go. Here it is. It's being used as a jig. I know that if I take my robot and I put my robot right next to here in this little area that I've defined with a jig, my robot is going to be set up in the exact same spot every single time. So this jig has to be made out of Legos, but can extend all the way to this back wall. So it's a way to make your robot placement easier, quicker, and more reliable. So if you are a first-year team, I would definitely look up how to use jigs, because that will definitely get you started on the right path very quickly. And then if you have free time, you can start looking up how to use color sensors and line following and that kind of programming to make sure your robot does what it should do. Now, can you repeat the part about losing the precision tokens for the tire being half in, half out? I thought that is only for the robot, not mission components. All right, so I'm going to quote the rules because there's always questions on this. All right, so we're on Rule 19 here, stranded cargo. And this is stranding cargo. So the robot is like driving back, carrying the big black tire. The robot goes, oops, and drops it. The robot is now separated from that big black tire. Once the tires come to rest, if the former cargo is stranded outside of home, if it is completely outside, it stays as is. So out here, it stays where it is. If it is partly outside, you must take it into home and lose precision. My apologies on that. Don't rewind that and quote me that I misspoke there, because you actually get that, but I do have to charge you the precision token still. So you get to keep the tire, but still I'm charging the precision token. Okay? So it does count towards the mission components, but it's only the ones that are being carried. Now, obviously, if you break part of my field and you're hauling it back, please don't do that. That's a bad day for everyone. There are 4 updates already, so make sure you pay attention to those. One is the sharing adjustment. There is a mislabel under the basketball model. Precision token placement. If you're doing your match at home, keep these here in the white corner so your robot doesn't get used to accidentally driving back there. So please just keep those back there. And for the dance scoring, the controller of the robot has to be over the grid. The controller, not the robot, not a wheel of the robot, the controller. And realizing that that's in the center of the field, referees will have to give you the benefit of the doubt and use their best judgment to determine if the controller is over the dance field. And that is the brick of the EV3 or the Spike Prime, not the brick plus an attachment arm plus a wheel plus everything else. So please make sure that the brick is over the dance floor. All right, so if you have any questions, again, please put those into the chat window. If you don't have any questions, I will direct you to Facebook, and you can find the Ohio Head Referee Forum. This is only for Ohio. So if you're tuning in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, Indiana, or Kentucky, you are free to ask questions as well. But my word doesn't carry much weight once we cross the Ohio River, or once you go into Pennsylvania and Michigan. They know them here, but they make their own rules in Michigan and other states and other regions. So what I say on Ohio Head Referee Forum really only applies to people in Ohio, and it's a way for simple, clear communication. So this way everybody sees the rulings that are out there, so we don't get 1,000 versions of the exact same question. So if you are a coach, you are free to post on that. Kids don't have to post because we know kids in social media. Some adults just don't want their youngsters on social media as long as possible, and that's perfectly okay. So if you're a coach and you have questions, feel free to take pictures and type it up and say, hey, I'm the coach of Team 1784, the Techno Blocks. We have a question about this. How would you score this, or what would happen when this happens? And there it is, Brenda throwing out my email address. So if you want to contact me directly, and because you have some super secret mission strategy that you want to use,
Or they don't have Facebook.
or you don't have Facebook, you are free to email me at the email down there, storrick@yahoo.com, and I will happily get back to you very quickly. Please, if you're emailing me about something, please include pictures or descriptions or a diagram, something, to make it easier for me to understand exactly what you're talking about. The hardest thing that happens is if someone just uses a line or two, it's like, would we score if we did this? And their description is hard to understand. Because I can mostly understand what people are talking about with the missions, but every now and then someone comes at it from a different angle, and I'm just kind of going, okay, I think what you're talking about is this. All right. So those are the missions, those are the updates, those are the rules. That's how you can get a hold of me. So please, anybody here in Ohio, you're free to get a hold of me. And what I say on the Ohio Head Ref Forum that will count as stuff that will be taken into consideration with the remote judging that will happen in December. Brenda will send out additional information when she is able to. She said hopefully September 1st. She will send out that information after she talks to the leadership at Right Pat and get some more briefings from FIRST on how to exactly proceed. Because as we all know, this is a very unusual year. Brenda, do you have anything else to add? All right, Brenda's answering any questions. Candy, anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. So keep those questions coming. We will go back to the layout screen, but if you have any questions, we'll stay on for another few minutes. Waiting to see your funny hat for this year. All right. So those of you that don't know, at any in-person events, my hat ranges anywhere from this big to that big. And I mean, size of a small child size hat is not out of bounds. I do have something I can use for a hat this year. But the one rule that I always have is I don't showcase my hat until the first tournament that I'm head refereeing. And so do I count the remote tournaments in December and just wear it there? Do I recycle that hat this year and next year? Do I do what Brenda is talking about, and the things like blasphemy is having a tiny hat? I don't know how my neck muscles will behave if I have a tiny little hat. I mean, that just might look weird on me. Small hats don't work for my head. I mean, a normal hat looks tiny on my head.
So we shall see.
I mean, so Anything else, Brenda, or should we sign off?
I think we're good.
All right, so thank you for coming by. Brenda will have this video posted somewhere. Okay, so thank you very much. So Brenda can hit end stream.